afternoon. For those of you who don't know, my name is Maya Karen. I run a fashion blog called Classically. It does feature luxury, contemporary, and how to style, and now natural hair care. So if you are into any of those things, please consider subscribing to my channel, then click the notification bell. That way you will never miss a video. So today's topic is going to be hair. We are going to get into hair. Again, it is something that has popped up on my feed. I'm kind of seeing like a resurgence of this trend. So we are going to go ahead and get into that. But before we get into that topic, I do have two announcements. So the first one, the reason why my hair looks like this, I know it looks a little crazy, but I literally woke up today and I had my hair stretched and I just had it in like, I guess, a semi-mini twist. They were really big, or not, they weren't really anything semi-mini about them, but they were just really large. I took them out. It's Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I have to wash my hair. My scalp is on fire. It itches and my dandruff is not out of control, but it's very noticeable for me. So whenever it comes to dandruff, I've tried the Selsun Blue, I've tried the Head and Shoulders, the T-Gel, the Nazoral, and something else. I tried those and then I would do whatever it is I needed to do to kind of combat that after trying it. But then when my dandruff would come back, it would come back with like a vengeance. And I don't know if it's just because my scalp was sensitive, didn't like it, didn't take to it, if I was allergic, or if it was just something else going on. Maybe it's also might have been because it was actually medicated. So I actually found like a new tea tree shampoo that I'm going to use. And now what I typically do is whenever we go from like warm months, so whenever we go from like summer to fall, that's when my dandruff comes. So now what I've been doing for the past couple of years is when I start to notice it, I will find some type of shampoo. This is my first time finding a new one because prior to I was using the ones that I just listed. But it just seems like whenever I stop using it, whenever the dandruff comes back, it's out of control. So now what I do, like I said, I found the new one on Amazon and I did have to do like a little patch right here because it was driving me insane. I felt like I was going to scratch a hole into my scalp, okay? So now I will use that shampoo, go ahead and combat that. And then to either alleviate it or to get rid of it, I always use my Bing-Raj oil and that just stops the dandruff dead in its tracks. I will leave that video down below. Also, something else that I noticed, like when I was traveling for assignments, if I would get to my assignment, let's say in Georgia, or just like in a different state, in a warm month, and then we would transition over into a cool month and I was still there, it would still be, the dandruff would still be more than I was used to. So this is the first time that this has actually happened in a couple of years. And I'm assuming even though we moved from North Carolina to South Carolina, it's literally down the street, I don't know. It just seems like whenever I moved to a different state or whenever I was going to a different state, the dandruff would also come back with a vengeance. And then it's like clockwork whenever it comes to the dandruff. Warm month to cool month, I always get dandruff. I wash it, I combat it with the Bing-Raj oil, and it's done. I won't have another issue until the next year around the same time, okay? So that's what I want to do. The second announcement is, if you did not see in my community tab, I finally bought the Rev Air. When I tell you, when it showed up to my door in this big box, the elation just in me. I am so excited to use it. I cannot wait. I've heard so many reviews. A lot of you in the comment section of the community tab said it's going to be a game changer. I am hoping so, because even with like the Revlon 2-in-1, it takes me forever to dry my hair. And I've read it's anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds for each section. If that is true, that will cut down my dry time, I would say half, even into a third, because my wash day is a literal wash day. But I am so excited to use it. But what I want to do first is I do want to clarify my shampoo. So that'll be this wash. Then the next wash will be an actual deep condition. And then after that, for my hairversary, I will straighten my hair with the Rev Air blow dryer. Okay. So now that we've talked about all of that, let me go ahead and put this disclaimer out here as well, because today's topic, I have noticed there is kind of like this resurgence, or a lot of people who are natural, who have always been natural or who went natural, especially around the pandemic, are now going back to relaxers. And I'm just going to get into, I think, like a couple of reasons why as to where I think it's coming from. So the disclaimer for this part of the video, this is by no means like bashing on relaxers. This is not an advertisement or marketing for you to get a relaxer. This is just me seeing a trend in the natural hair community and reporting on it. If you are natural, good for you. If you are relaxed, good for you. If you have watched any of my hair videos, I always say this, and I feel like I have to because someone is going to make the comment. If you are relaxed, I take no issue with that. You know, who am I to run your household? Your lifestyle, your decision, your scalp, your head. A black woman or just a woman of color having a relaxer has never and will never be my issue. My issue comes with the comments, the condescension. I mean, just all of the negative things that come with being natural. Someone telling you you'll never be able to get a man. Someone telling you you're not beautiful enough. You know, someone pressuring you in your community. That's where my problem lies. My problem has never lied within a woman getting a relaxer. As long as you know that for your lifestyle, it's the best thing for you to do, that's fine. Like I said, I'm just here to report the trends that I'm seeing, because like my previous video about these new marketing techniques, like with the texture release, I think this was probably about 3 weeks ago when, of course, I was watching a short and it popped up on my feed that a woman who had been relaxed for like 5 years, a woman who had been natural all of a sudden now wants to go back to relaxers. She got the relaxer done and it looked really good. But then, of course, because I watched that when I went down the rabbit hole, and I would say like all of the videos and all of the shorts that I was watching had been like within the last 5 months, okay? So I just kind of wanted to go over why I think some of the reasons or what people have said, because whenever I do a hair video, especially when it comes to topics, I like to get other people's perspective. So I just kind of want to hit on a couple of points as to why I think people are going back to relax, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first reason is too many rules. Now, I will say this. When I first went natural, which is at this point getting ready to be 10 years in December, when I first hopped on YouTube, I was, trying to find someone's hair texture that was like me, someone who had the same, I was basically trying to find someone who looked like me and we had the exact same hair type, hair issues, hair porosity, all of that stuff. And I will say that when you first make the decision to go natural, especially like if you've never, talked about it when you were growing up, if it's never been presented to you, if you have never really sat down and like had a conversation with a natural person or had like a hair talk or like a hair conversation with a woman who is natural, I don't think a lot of people fully realize the actual work that goes into being natural. And it's so funny because yesterday was Thanksgiving and it was me, a girlfriend from high school, a couple of her cousins, and even like one of her guy cousins who is now natural. And he has like, I think like the size of his head are shaved, and then he has like braids on top. He always said, he was like, I never really understood when a black woman said it's a wash day. It's an actual wash day. That is true. When I say it's a wash day, it is a wash day. And David can attest to that because he'll be like, okay, well, you're busy for the rest of the day. I'll do something else. But what I'm saying is that when I first got on YouTube and made the decision to go natural, it was so many like different opinions. Like one person said use coconut oil. The other person said don't use it. This person said you do co-wash. This person said you don't co-wash. This person said, and I know for me, coconut oil and I are not friends. And I found that out very quickly. Use oils. Don't use oils. LCO method versus LOC method. I will say this, especially when you are first starting out and you've never really been exposed to it, it is a lot of rules. But like I say with everything else, not necessarily take it with a grain of salt. Never, ever, 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 and even including me when I'm giving y'all these videos and giving y'all these tips, never ever follow, quote unquote, a hair guru's routine or advice verbatim. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are so many factors that goes into how that person's hair looks and how that person's hair reacts to a certain product. You could live in California. The hair guru that you're following or looking at could live in New York. The weather, the air, the pollution is so different, and you might not be aware. And even y'all's water. Let's say, for instance, you live in California and you have soft water. The person in California has hard water, and y'all use the same products. It might not turn out the same. Not to mention that you might have low porosity, she might have high porosity. So I will say that there can be a lot of rules when it comes to being natural or going natural, but that's why I always say whenever you find someone who you feel like you can follow, their routines are simple enough, and you feel like you kind of have the same hair texture, or maybe y'all use the same products and y'all's hair reacts the same way, you're supposed to take that regimen and you're supposed to curate it to your hair, your needs, yourself. You're not supposed to take that video verbatim and then do every single thing that they do and then expect the same outcome. That's not going to happen because, like I just said, there are so many different factors as to why that person's hair looks like that. So as far as it being too many rules, I can agree with that. However, I've gotten to the point now where I know certain things are just not going to work for me. Like, for instance, I used to watch videos about like do's and don'ts of wash and goes. I have learned that within the 10 years of being natural, wash and goes are not my friend, okay? They look crazy. My hair is crunchy. It's dry. I've tried it with different products. I've tried different methods. Wash and goes just are not my friend, okay? So as far as like the too many rules, I can understand that, but for me personally, it has never been so many rules where I feel like I need to get a relaxer again, okay? The next one, a lot of people keep talking about long hair routines, and that's why whenever I do show like a hair routine, and I really only have like 2 videos of straightening my hair, and I do have my wash day routine, and I do have like a twisting video, they're long because of the thickness and because of the length of my hair. And that's just really kind of like a common sense thing. The thicker your hair is, the longer a process is going to take, or the longer a regimen is going to take. The longer your hair is, the process is going to take longer. And I have an example of that. When I first started natural and when I first started installing mini twists, my mini twists were just that. They were mini. Now where I am with the length of my hair and the amount of hair that I have, my mini twists are nowhere near the size that they were when my hair was a lot shorter. I just don't have the time. And I would probably say for the last month and a half, I have actually been wearing larger twists. They're not even mini at this point. Some people might even consider them like Dookie braids, okay? Or maybe like Janet Jackson braids from Poetic Justice. But the routine is long, but I try to keep my routine as simple as possible. Again, I can understand someone going from relaxed, maybe their entire wash routine, maybe taking a couple of hours, as opposed to, being natural and it literally taking all day. That can be quite jarring or a shock to someone. But again, for me personally, my long hair care regimen or my long wash day has never just made me want to go get a relaxer again, okay? So I understand like the long hair routines. Some people make it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but I try to keep it as simple as possible. The detangling is simple, the shampoo is simple, me sectioning my hair is simple. So my hair routines are simple. They just take a very long time because of the thickness of my hair and because of how long it is. The next one, and I heard a couple of people say this, and I can attest to this because I have always accepted my hair the way that it is. As you guys have heard me say a million times before, growing up, my mother always made sure that I felt beautiful and confident in my own skin and with my hair, okay? So, as far as acceptance for your hair texture, again, I can see that because especially if you big chop. I did not big chop. I will leave my natural hair story down below. But especially if you big chop, I don't think a lot of women realize that when you have your TWA, which is short for teeny weeny afro, as your hair grows, your hair texture is going to change, or not even necessarily your hair texture, but your curl pattern is going to change. And I've noticed that myself. As my hair gets longer, my hair texture changes. Like my curl pattern is looser because of the weight of my hair, okay? So the actual acceptance of your hair, I think that also goes in stages. And it's kind of like the exact same thing for my mother. If you don't know, my mother did have breast cancer. She's been in remission forever. But when she started growing her hair back, she was sporting like a very short afro. And even though I would give my mother probably like now I would give her maybe like 3A, 3B. I would really give her like a 3A, like a 3A and a half. When she first got out of remission and she was growing her hair, she actually had like, I would say more so like 3C. And then as her hair got longer, her curl pattern kind of loosened up, okay? So when I say like, true acceptance of your hair, and I know this people are probably thinking, well, you're talking about 4C people. I'm talking about everybody. I know in our community there is still kind of like this stigma, or like there's kind of like this taboo subject about 4C hair, which I again find very interesting because that is the majority of what Black women have. But when you don't truly accept something for what it is, when you hop on YouTube, when you hop on Instagram, when you hop on TikTok, and you're looking at this woman who has 2C, 3A hair, and you're thinking your hair is going to look like that because y'all are using the same products, that's something that you're going to have to figure out yourself. A woman who has 4B, 4C hair, unless she gets a weave or unless she gets this texture release or a texturizer, or she just goes full relaxer, your hair is never going to look like that. It's just not. And, you know, maybe when you went natural, maybe you thought it was. Because a lot of times also when women go natural, because they've had relaxed hair for such a long time, they're not really sure what their natural texture is going to be. And then when they actually see the natural texture, they don't like it. So they're like, well, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get a relaxer. I'd rather have the creamy crack than to deal with this 4C. The next one, and boredom. I am not bored. And really what's so funny to me is that when I straighten my hair, if you don't know, I straighten my hair once a year for my hairversary. I actually get bored and miss my curls when my hair is straight. You know, I'll put, the little pin curls in, I'll tack it to the side, I'll put it up, I'll put it down. But for me, I kind of feel like it's the opposite. I kind of feel like I kind of get a little bored when my hair is straight. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful and it's cute for a second. But after a while, it's like, okay, I want to wash my hair so I can go ahead and get my curls back. But then I think to myself, like, Maya, this took all day. Hold out for a couple more days. But, a lot of women are bored. They get bored. And this probably more so circles around with the pandemic. Just, being in the house, not having anything to do, people might want to experiment. So I can definitely understand the boredom. It's just that for me, I wash my hair, it's curly, I install my mini twist. I treat my mini twist like regular hair or as if my hair was out. I'll put it in a top knot. I'll put it in a mid bun, low bun. I'll do the classic crown. I'll do like a Princess Leia situation. I change it up that way, and that, I guess, kind of combats my boredom. I never really get bored when my hair is in mini twist because there are so many different styles that I can do. I can put in like pearl bobby pins. I can put in hair accessories, and y'all know I love to adorn my crown. So the boredom, I understand, but again, for me, being bored with my natural hair will never have me running to the hair salon to get a relaxer. Number 5, and I guess I kind of touched on this, but I heard a lot about unwilling to commit to a new routine. And as I said before, it can be quite a jarring experience, or it can be kind of a daunting experience when you go from, and this is even in a salon situation. Let's say you have a relaxer and you get a relaxer, let's say every other month or every 8 weeks. Because my mother used to stretch mine out. I think we used to go every 2 months. It can be quite daunting, and a lifestyle change. I will say that as well. It can be quite daunting to actually go to a salon and have everything done for you. You might be in there all day, but when you leave, your hair is done, and then all you have to do for the next couple of months is maybe like wash your hair once, blow dry it, and then put rollers in. And then you go back to the salon, and then they kind of like reset you. That can be a very daunting experience to go from that to then sitting in your bathroom trying to figure out how to pre-poo, shampoo, deep condition, detangle. Okay, well, I co-wash this week. What do I do next week? Okay, so I co-wash this week. Do I, deep condition this week? Okay, I want to go ahead and implement henna. When do I do that? Okay, well, now that I've co-washed, now that I've deep conditioned, how do I detangle? There are steps that you're not going to have to deal with if you are relaxed. So I can understand why there sometimes is not like a commitment to actually do that, to actually switch over. Again, this reason right here is not a reason for me to just kind of jump and go to a salon and get a relaxer. So I can understand, the unwillingness to commit, because as you've heard me say in this video before, when I tell you I'm washing my hair, or when I tell you it's a wash day, it is a wash day. I could be off that day and I could wake up, maybe say let's like 8 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock in the morning. I probably won't be done until the evening. And when I mean evening, I mean 5:30, 6 o'clock. Again, my routine is not complex. It's a very simple routine, very basic routine. It's just the amount of hair and the length that I have at this point is what takes the most time, okay? So I can understand somebody else's unwillingness to commit to a new routine. And for some people, it might be a life change. You have to also, realize people are married, they're wives, they have kids, they go to the gym, some people might sit at a desk, some people might have like a very rigorous job, some people, might have a condition. It's just a lot of things that might be the reason as to why that person is willing to give up maybe like 1 Saturday or 2 Saturdays every week, every month to just do their hair. So I can understand that. Okay, and the last one, preference. Me personally, I think the word preference is a euphemism, or it's being masked for texture, okay, or texturism. I think a lot of people who are, choosing to go back to being relaxed, maybe they grew their hair out and maybe they just do not like their hair texture. And again, that's fine. And again, your lifestyle, your household, your scalp, your hair. And, maybe you feel beautiful. Maybe you feel more beautiful like that. Maybe you feel like you're more attractive. Maybe you feel like you'll be able to go for, I don't know. But to me, whenever I was just listening to certain people talk about, because it was being labeled as preference. And for me personally, I just feel like you're trying to use a euphemism. Really, you don't like your hair texture, or you would think that you are going to have like a different hair texture. I think preference, and you're going to have preferences in all aspects of your life. That's just life. You're a person, you have your preferences, what you find attractive, what you don't. But I think when I was watching the videos, or for a lot of women who are choosing to go back to relax, I think when it comes to preference, I think they're trying to mask it as like a texture problem. Either they're going to go back to the relaxer and just have straight hair, or maybe they're going to get a wig. I don't know. But I feel as though, like, when it comes to preference, I feel like it's more so of it's more so of like a texture issue. You don't like your texture, you don't like your curl pattern, you don't like your 4C, you don't like your 4B, you don't like your texture. And now you feel like you might want to go back to having a relaxer. The other one, lastly, that I do want to point out is for, I guess, a lot of women, because we go through these phases all the time. We go through like this whole I'm natural phase, and then we go through like this wig phase, and then we go through like getting the relaxer phase. And I kind of feel like for a lot of women, we're kind of coming out of the relaxer, we're coming out of the natural phase. And I think it has something somewhat to do with COVID. When you were at home, you had time to have the wash day. You had time to sit and look at different videos. You had time to install the mini twist. You actually had time to sit down and do the research and then follow through with that process. And, now that we're somewhat out of the pandemic and, people are, I guess, leaving their house again. People are, back on Zoom meetings. People are back in the office. Maybe some people feel as though, because I will not lie, being natural can be very time consuming. I love being natural, but it can be very time consuming. And that's what I was saying earlier with the unwillingness to commit to a new routine. So I understand all of it. It's just that, as you guys have heard me say before, I love all three textures in my head. If you guys haven't heard me say it before, if this is your first time on my channel, my mother always raised me to make sure that I felt beautiful and accepted my skin tone and my hair texture. So I'm pretty sure that's where that comes from. But as far as like coming out of COVID and just being outside more, some people be like, you know what, this is too time consuming. I'm either just going to get a wig or I'm just going to get a relaxer and just go about my day and be done with my hair. And that is completely understandable, because even like I sometimes feel very unrelated, but I sometimes feel like, now that we're out of COVID and I see people just out and about, this like athleisure wear thing is just like, it has become like, it has like a cult following, and like that's all that you wear. That's beside the point. But I just kind of feel like now that we're coming out of COVID and people are outside more, they want to focus on something more than their hair. Okay. So let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if I missed something, or just kind of let me know what you think another reason is. I just want to remind you that here on YouTube, I do upload videos every Wednesday and Sunday. And of course, right here, I'll put my Instagram handle. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. Bye.